What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to some really interesting statistics, which actually suggest that here in the United States, Canada is more popular than our own president, Donald Trump. Canada, the country, is actually polling higher than Donald Trump in the US. So, yes, they actually did some kind of side by side comparison of this. And apparently, Canada came out ahead, which, you know, honestly, isn't all that shocking to me, given everything that Trump has done, and especially in the last year. But, at the same time, you also can't help but think, ideally, your nation's leader, you know, your representative, the president of the United States, ideally would have a higher approval rating, that more people would approve of that person, that you would elect somebody that people actually like and trust and make good decisions. And based on this data coming out, it seems like somehow we have actually done the literal opposite of that. And also, looking at this, it kind of shows that most Americans really do not have any problem with Canada, despite Trump having a huge problem with Canada. So there's an interesting discrepancy there. And so today, I want to take a look at this, learn more about this, and see exactly what all this data and these polls are saying. So let's take a look.
On there. Canadians' grade of Trump's first term. Look at this. First year of his second term. 66%. 66% give him a giant big F.
I can't say I'm that surprised. Actually, the only surprising thing here is that this number isn't higher, actually. I would have thought this might have been higher. 66% of Canadians grade Trump's first year in his second term, so, the last year, an F. I really can't even imagine a US president doing worse, or behaving worse towards Canada. So, yeah, it's really hard to imagine it going much worse than what happened. I suppose it's possible. I don't want to think about that hypothetical. I suppose it's possible that he could have even done worse, but that would be okay. That'd be bad. It's already pretty bad. 66%. That's bad.
F is in failure compared to just 6% who give him an A. And keep in mind that this
6% give him an A. Okay. I mean, I know that there's like some. I know a little bit about like separatist movements in Canada. Like if you're a Canadian giving Donald Trump an A for the last year, to me that essentially means you want to join the United States, because that's a huge, talking point that Trump has had in the last year, that Canada should be taken over by the US, should willingly join the US. Come on, join us. And so if you give him an A, then I guess you agree with that.
66% includes a plurality of members of every single party in Canada.
This poll, and again, this is by CNN, who like did all this polling and stuff. And this is a news network. Everything's going to be a little bit biased, of course, but we got to go with something for the sake of discussing and learning and everything. So we're going with this, and that's a really big deal. If according to their poll, a plurality of every party in Canada. So no matter your political affiliation in Canada, there's a very high probability that you seriously disagree with a lot of the things Trump has done.
It doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right, you do not like Donald Trump if you are a Canadian.
that's the blunt way of saying it. This should really come as a surprise to no one, in my opinion. Like, anybody can plainly see the things Donald Trump has said and literally done in the last year, which have been extremely anti-Canada, anti-Canadian. And yet, I've done videos, like, you know, where I go on a rant showing U.S. politicians who seem totally dumbfounded by this information. They can't wrap their head around Canadians not liking Donald Trump. They just can't. It's a mystery. It's a total mystery why you would dislike this guy as a Canadian. So, yeah, here in the U.S., I don't know if they're going to go into that. Well, yeah, that's the whole point, right? They're going to show what Americans think of Canada versus Donald Trump. And apparently, Trump loses that comparison.
So if he did make Canada the 51st state and ran for a third term, it seems unlikely he would get Canada's electoral votes.
It would seem extremely unlikely that he would get Canadians' electoral votes. And
It does. It does seem unlikely.
I will note that they really don't want to become the 51st state.
No.
The polling
Okay.
officers.
How about the other direction?
Polling shows that the majority of Canadians don't want to become the 51st state. And with that being true, one can pretty easily extrapolate that it's extremely insulting to insist upon a free sovereign country like Canada should join the United States, as he continues to do.
U.S. views of Canada.
Okay, so if Canadians really don't like Donald Trump, how do Americans feel about Canada? Well, they actually like Canada. Look at this. The net popularity rating of Canada among Americans, among all adults,
wow.
It's plus 46.
Whoa! So, okay, this is not like a percentage poll. Well, kind of. It's a net popularity ranking thing. So plus 46. If we're just talking about normal adults in the normal. Yes, we're very normal here. Average American adults. Plus 46 net popularity for Canada. That's extremely good. That's very, very good. That means by far there are many, many more Americans who like Canada than dislike it. That's a very good rating.
Democrats plus 64.
64 is insanely good. That's unbelievably good. Like, that's almost as good as it gets, unless it's like 100% of people. Plus 64 means Democrats in the United States are in love with Canada, basically.
For independents plus 46, and even
46 is very good.
among Republicans, it's plus 30.
30 is good. It's a positive number. It means many more Republicans have a positive view of Canada than a negative one. Obviously, it's not as high as... Well, I like the all adults. Like, obviously, this is going to skew based on your political party, even though that actually is so frustrating to me. That's actually... Let's talk about that. That's actually dumb. That actually shows, to me, that there's a lot of people, a lot of Americans, who will support Donald Trump's opinions or stances despite their own common sense, despite what is reasonable, which is scary, because it's like, if you're an American and you just don't like Canada because Donald Trump doesn't like Canada, because Canada won't bend the knee to us and join us and let us take advantage of you and tariff you, and if you're an American who agrees with all that, that's pretty sad, because it basically means you've shut your brain off. So the plus 30 is still pretty good, but I think it should be higher. The plus 46 for, in general, American adults like Canada, that's a great number, and that's actually pretty promising.
Canada was the most popular country tested by this latest poll from the Chicago Council on Global Affairs.
Yeah, it just goes to show you, like, and I've heard, to the credit of a lot of Canadians, I've heard that from Canadians, like, you dislike Trump, it's not necessary. You don't necessarily hate the people of America, which is very nice, and it takes a lot of like, restraint and discipline to, appreciate that disconnect where there's like Trump, and then there's normal Americans who don't agree with a lot of this stuff, like myself. Yeah, and on the flip side, it just goes to show you, like, despite all the negativity Trump has tried to create towards Canada, it hasn't worked. Like, normal Americans don't buy it. It's like, no, Canadians are like nice, reasonable people. Like, we don't know the most about Canada or Canadians, like, yeah, but no, most of us like you guys, or at least definitely don't think badly of you, despite anything Donald Trump has said.
And I will note, of course, that this plus 46 is significantly higher than Donald Trump's own net popularity rating here in America. So Canada, more popular than Donald Trump.
That's funny. So if we're just comparing net popularity ratings, like, Canada has a higher positive number. Canada has a higher popularity rating than Donald Trump in his own country. That fills me with a little giddiness, a little giddy delight. That's good. It's not just funny, it's reasonable and good, and that's how it should be, and it is how it is. Thank God.
In Donald Trump's own country.
Well, that's something. All right. How has tourism been affected by all of this?
Yeah, okay. So, we had the tariffs.
Tourism, from everything I have seen or heard, is historically down. If we're talking about Canadians traveling to the U.S., you're not doing it. In record numbers, you're not doing it.
And, of course, there's this whole bridge situation. But here's the thing, which is there are real tourist dollars at stake. And take a look here. Tourism in
25%. That is insane. Like, given how economically tied the US and Canada are, how much people need to travel between Canada and the US by necessity, not even by choice, by necessity. Even given all that, a quarter of Canadians put in the effort to actively stay away, which is, it's a big statement.
2025 versus 2024, Canadians to America, look at that. Down, way down 25%. Americans to Canada, just down about 2%, basically steady.
Yeah, there you go. And there's something that's not even like bias. It's not a poll. It's just raw numbers, statistics. Americans are still going to Canada at the same rate that we always have. There's not been any decrease.
Canadians really taking their anger out by not coming to the country of the United States of America, not spending their tourist dollars, while Americans are basically going to Canada in the same numbers.
And this, of course, matters because my sources tell me that Canadians represent the biggest number of visitors to the United States of any country on all of planet Earth.
Right. Good point. 25% of a really, really huge number of people. The biggest number of people that from a single place that travel here. From Canada. 25% of that total number is really, really... I did a video looking at some of this the other day. It's costed us billions and billions and billions of dollars.
All right, so you mentioned tariffs. There is a big Supreme Court decision we are waiting on and have been waiting on whether many of the president's tariffs...
Oh, this Supreme Court decision already happened. And the Supreme Court determined that the tariffs are unlawful, which sent Trump into a huge downward spiral that he's now... Basically, the law Trump was using to put tariffs against Canada was deemed to be against the Constitution, so he found a different law to do tariffs against everybody in the world. 15% tariffs, blanket tariffs on the world in response to trying to teach the U.S. Supreme Court a lesson or something. I don't know if you've heard much about that. It's pretty insane. There's almost... As is the typical Trump strategy, like there's too many insane things happening. Now we're bombing Iran nonstop. At this point in time, like several American military service people have died, which is a tragedy to say the least. And yeah, Trump's tariffs, 70% chance.
Supreme Court rules against Trump's tariffs.
Oh yeah, that ended up being true. That happened. Huh. Should have bet on that. Yeah, those got struck down and madness has ensued, but that's could go off into a whole other video. For today, this was really interesting, and actually, despite a lot of the depressing news coming out recently, a lot of real negative, depressing stuff, this was kind of fun. This was kind of nice to see that there's actually, despite like what the news and the headlines and the clickbait, like there's a lot of Americans out there who are at least have a reasonable stance on this when we're talking about their attitude towards Canada versus Donald Trump, and so that's good. This was actually really interesting to see, and a bit uplifting for me, actually. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on Trump polling lower than his nemesis, Canada, in these polls with Americans. Good stuff. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canadian things that I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.